ignored the observation and battled on, certain that my faith would save me. I told him that I was trying to wrestle through 65 years of experience to find holes, and that it was extremely difficult. He told me that what I was trying to do was counterproductive. He said that, given the fact that he was clearly more educated and experienced with these issues, I needed to sit back, relax, and take notes. I had to fully understand him before I could really think I had any grounds for dissecting his beliefs. I agreed with him. So I sat back, relaxed, and listened fully and intently to what the professor had to say before trying to rebut him. So he began. The concept of God is intricate and profound. If it were real, it would have drastic implications for the world we live in. But in all of academia, through all disciplines, we have found no reason to believe that it is anything more than a concept. Given what we know, God is just a concept. The professor's words echoed the sentiment of the philosopher Jean Baudrillard, whose work I had briefly encountered a few months before. Baudrillard defines the term simulacrum as something that is only an image of something either real or imagined, but that is interacted with as if it really is what it represents. This interaction can be referred to as a simulation of what a real interaction with the real thing would be like. So for example, if someone wears a pendant and believes it is lucky, the physical pendant has become a simulacrum of a magical pendant. To the wearer, it represents the idea of a magical pendant and is treated directly as if it were magical. When a person believes that the pendant brings them luck, they are simulating the experience that the pendant actually is magical. The physical pendant itself can be completely mundane and have no magical properties whatsoever. But to the wearer, who is simulating a magical experience in their mind, otherwise mundane but fortunate events are perceived as expressions of the pendant's power. One can think similarly about idols that are prayed to as if they are direct representations of gods, or pictures, possessions, or internal images of deceased loved ones that are spoken to as if they contain that person's consciousness. According to Baudrillard and the professor, God himself, as experienced by the religious, was probably just another simulacrum, an image, representing the concept of a supreme supernatural being. Religious followers simulated an experience of this supreme being in their own mind by the way that they interpreted otherwise natural events, but this experience most likely involved no actual supreme being interacting with them at all. So when I experienced profound emotions due to what I perceived as the Holy Spirit, I was, according to Baudrillard, just simulating, subconsciously, in my own mind, what I would feel like if the Holy Spirit actually existed and was reaching out to me. I experienced real emotions, but they were in response to a simulated experience. It felt real because my mind made it feel real. Our brains, apparently, are profoundly adept at creating simulations for our consciousness to experience. As far as I can tell, based on the literature, the professor continued, the primary psychological function of the concept of a personal God is to give the believer a surrogate parent. Some minds are able to become independent of parental figures. Others cannot, or fall into self-destructive behavior without them. Minds in this category rely on religion. The God concept is useful for motivating and pacifying others, but it is not a reality that someone like you or I should accept for ourselves. While I wouldn't just accept these hypotheses uncritically without checking into them myself, I was seriously taken aback by this line of reasoning. I'd never thought much about the possibility that psychology could explain my experience of God. Now that the professor had pointed out the relevance of psychology, this line of reasoning was so obvious to me that it was devastating. Was the voice of God I'd heard my whole life simply my own voice? Was my own mind behind all these profound statements? Was my own mind the subconscious force that had guided me through this conversation? Was every image and voice I'd seen or heard the result of my own imagination and reasoning rather than just some of them? Was my relationship with God suddenly failing because the simulation was breaking down? Were all the God concepts just illusions? These possibilities were both frightening and devastating. But I would not give up this easily. I still had so many other reasons to believe in God. Didn't I?